Salut and welcome to Francofille Knits, a creative podcast. My name is Devin and this is where I document my knitting and other fiber-related crafting. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram at bdevin. You can also find me on LO at Francofille Knits. I haven't really been posting too much over there. I think I posted there once this week, but it's kind of a cool different format from either Ravelry or Instagram, so it might be worth checking out if you're interested. You can also find show notes and the podcast group over on Ravelry if you search Francofille Knits in the groups tab. And you can find my patterns now on Ravelry as well if you search either the pattern name, Amboise, the Amboise Shawl, or Francofille Knits in the patterns tab. So lots of stuff going on Ravelry. It's been a crazy busy week, as always. I feel like I say that every week, but at least this week I got a lot of knitting and crafting done, so I've got a lot to talk to you guys about. I'm going to start with, let's see, a fun announcement for you guys. My finished object for the week, a couple works in progress, adventures in dyeing, a little bit of spinning, and then some general blather. So like I said, there's a lot to talk about. So yeah, sit back and enjoy. Oh, and before I go any further, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, I don't know why I don't start with that every single week, because honestly, that's the most important part. As much fun as it is for me to talk and chat and babble on about everything I'm making, it really doesn't matter so much. This part of it, the making, matters, but this part of it doesn't matter without you guys tuning in. So yeah, whether you're a new or returning viewer, thank you. Thank you for checking me out and choosing to spend a little bit of time with me. All right, starting with the first announcement, something kind of exciting for you. It's been an exciting week for me. First and foremost, we're up to 300 subscribers, over 300 subscribers now on YouTube, and over 500 followers on Instagram. So I decided it's time for a giveaway. That two landmarks in a week, yeah, it's time for a giveaway. And luckily enough, I've got some thematically appropriate stuff to give away. The other big announcement is that, you guys know that my husband and I are looking at houses and things like that. I know I've complained about that on the podcast in recent episodes. But yeah, we have an accepted offer on a house, which is kind of crazy. So we are going to be moving up to a little bit more rural Indiana. And so I thought for this giveaway, it would be appropriate to have some Indiana-related giveaway, or stuff to give away. So starting out, I've got this gorgeous skein of merino, llama, and nylon blend fingering weight yarn that is hand-dyed in the state of Indiana. You can see us right there, right? It's this beautiful, beautiful skein that is, you've got some purples, blues, and greens, my favorite colors, right? All twisted in there. The name of the colorway is Thunder on the Dam, and yep, it is by Indie Steps, which is a very local dyer. They are based out of Indianapolis, right? Indianapolis doesn't get more Indiana than that. It's a hand-painted skein. Really excited. It's fingering weight, and I think it would make a beautiful pair of socks, or really whatever you want to do with it. So I've got this for you as one part of the prize. The other part of the prize is this DPN cozy, right? I talked last week about meeting Jenny of Kitchen Counter Crafter, right? You can find her stuff on Etsy, and I've got one of these DPN cozies for myself. I'll show you again in a minute when I talk about one of my works in progress. I'm in love. This thing is amazing. And I thought one that's kind of farmer's market and French themed, right? You've got farmer's market. It says, let's see if I can find it on there. It says Bon Appetit, right? on both sides. Whoop, I just dropped the stitch marker out of there. Sorry, Jenny. You guys get that too? Right? But I'm just dropping everything. Your needles will not drop out. Just the tiny stuff I've stuck in there will. Yeah, I think these are both a good pair of Indiana related stuff to give away to you guys, right? So, excuse me as I get close. I'm picking up all the random stuff that I just managed to drop. You also get a little kitchen counter crafter button, and this is so cute, stitch marker. See, can you see that? It's got a little coffee cup, a little bead, and then you can use it either as a removable stitch marker progress keeper type thing, or really, I mean, if you wanted, you could take it off this black progress keeper style thing and use it just as a stitch marker, or leave it on and use it as a stitch marker. It's fantastic. So yeah, there'll be a thread in the Ravelry group. Yeah, and you know what? Since I'm moving, I think I'm thinking just off the top of my head here for something for you guys to post about in the Ravelry thread. How about where would your ideal place to live be? And it can either be like a specific town or place, it could be a region, a country, a style of location, like maybe you want to live in the middle of the woods or on a beach or something like that. Maybe it's the town you already live in, you know, or, you know, near your best friend, something like that. Wherever, right, your ideal place to live would be, post about it in the Ravelry thread. I'd love to hear about it, right? So I will have that thread open for the next week, and I will announce who's going to win this. I don't know. I think it's a pretty great combo, right? Some sock yarn, or fingering weight yarn at least, and a DPN cozy to go with, and a stitch marker. Perfect for a pair of socks. The only thing missing is a set of needles. All right, before I show you guys my finished object this week, I'm going to take a sip of my tea. Got it in one of my, actually in my first Polish pottery style mug. I'm drinking some black chai from Yogi Tea. I don't have the box with me, but you can see I've got a little bit of milk in there. There's a little honey too, so definitely treating myself today with this. Gotta keep that caffeine and energy level up. Been busy, busy, busy. All right, my stripy socks are done. How exciting! I love these. I finished these the night I posted this video, or last week's video on YouTube. I've been waiting a week to wear these guys. That is how much I love you. I'm not showing you my dirty worn socks like I've done in the past, let's be honest. I haven't shown you dirty socks, but I've shown you worn socks. It's fair though. Yeah, these are knit out of, I'm just gonna show you one, out of opal yarn, and it is in the Little Prince, one of their various Little Prince colorways. I knit them cuff down. I did a fish lips kiss heel, and you can kind of see there if I get a little bit better light on it. I did a reinforced slip stitch heel, sort of an Eye of Partridge style pattern there with the slip stitching. Per tips from Mina of the Knitting Expat, I added a couple of extra stitches in the instep area. I added a total of 4 extra stitches, 2 on either side. So I think they started kind of up around here. And then I think, yeah, just kind of threw this stripe in here. And then I immediately decreased after I finished turning the heel. And honestly, I've tried them on and they fit great. The other thing, I know I've complained about the fish lips kiss heel being a little bit baggy on me in the past. So I decreased the length of the foot for about, by about 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. So a little bit shorter than I normally do if I do a heel flap and gusset style sock, and they fit great. This may be my go-to style heel. It's not what I'm doing on the one I'm going to show you in a minute, partially because I haven't worn these, so I don't 100% yet know if, you know, if I'm really going to love it and it really is going to be my go-to, but also because I'm doing a pattern sock, that I'll show you in a minute. And I didn't want to throw off the pattern with the increases for the instep. But yeah, finished pair. This is my contribution for Candace of Pin Feather and Pearls Stripy Sock Cow. Oh, one thing I did want to note, I got a question about this on Instagram. The sock blocker things, right? This wire thing I've got the sock hanging out on. It's just a extra tool. It's not something that's absolutely necessary. You do not need to run out and buy sock blockers if you don't want to, right? Really, to be perfectly honest, I've never actually blocked socks out, right? I've been knitting socks for like at least 7 years, right? I've got a pile of hand knit socks, and I usually hand wash and then just lay them out on a towel when I'm done and let them dry, and that's good enough. To be perfectly frank, I got the sock blockers for the podcast because it's easier to show off a hand knit sock when it's chilling out on a sock blocker. So really, unless you want to wash and block your sock out and have it be foot shaped as as it's drying, I could see some benefit from that potentially. This is not one of those tools that is essential for sock knitting. It's just kind of a nice little thing to have because it helps, if you're taking pictures of your socks or showing them off on a podcast. So yeah, random thoughts on sock blockers. But yeah, I love these socks. I can't wait to throw them on. I think I'm going to actually wear them when I go to knit night tonight, right after I get done with the podcast. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but Wednesday is like my epic knitting day. I spend my mornings kind of tying up loose ends, usually getting ready for the podcast, writing up show notes, all that kind of good stuff. Podcast during the middle of the day, right? Usually once Jordan's left home to go to the office for office hours. And then Wednesday evening is knit night for me, so I love Wednesday. It's the best day of my week. I'm glad I've got it scheduled in the middle of my week too, so it's, I don't know, something to get me through the week, right? It's not just everything exciting on the weekend. All right, moving on to works in progress, and I've got quite a few to show you guys. As I mentioned last week, I think I'm participating in what feels like 100 different knit-alongs, including one that I'm co-hosting with the ladies of Get Lit and Knit. So yeah, I have not been a monogamous knitter this week. I have been jumping around from project to project, and I couldn't be happier. Debating which order to show you in, because as I just said that I've spent my mornings, writing up show notes, I didn't today. Instead, I went and got my hair cut instead. Because you needed to know that. So yeah, no show notes already written up. It's going to make tonight a little bit more difficult, but whatever. We make do. It's fine. I'm going to start with the one that I was most recently working on. I just pulled a project, put it in my lap, and I decided I'm not going to talk about that one yet. Again, a little bit all over the place. I'm literally in the middle of this one. You can see the needle is just kind of hanging out. This is my Cozy Memories blanket. All right, my scrap yarn blanket. There you go. Okay, it's a little bit awkward to show off as I'm in the middle of a square here in the middle of the blanket. I believe you guys have seen these 3 rows so far. I think the top row here is new to you guys. So this square here is my little print stuff or yarn that I just used on those socks I just showed you. This one here is, I'm not sure the name of the yarn or the colorway, but it was a gift. It was part of my knitting expat swap with Madeline. Love that, and these two just go together so well. I almost wish I had separated them a little bit more, but I do kind of love them next to each other. And then these are 2 of the minis from Zia Wools, who is, I think, Paper Dag on Instagram. I got a set of her minis a couple weeks ago. I think I showed them to you guys on the podcast a couple weeks ago. I want to say it was right, this would have been like right after spring break, so like mid-March. I honestly have no idea what the colorways are, which I'm kicking myself about, but I love her yarn. I'll talk and blather about how I have put myself on a serious yarn diet, but as soon as I come off that yarn diet, I'm getting more of this because it's just, I mean, the hand is gorgeous, right? It just feels so good to knit with, and I mean, look at those colors, right? Her color sense is just brilliant. You know, like I'm in love. Oh, and the color is just not showing up quite right. I'm in love with this one here, the one I'm currently working on. It's just this really great, like navy and Kelly blue, and then just shades in between of those two. You know, this one too, like I'm not normally a pink kind of girl, but I just love the pink with that light gray blue and the mauvey purples. Like it's great. It's beautiful. And it feels so good to knit with. I'm in love. Absolutely in love. And the nice thing, something I'm discovering as I'm knitting up each of these squares, is that from the minis I've got, or at least most of the minis I've got, I've probably got enough yarn to do 2 squares. So I'm holding on to them for now, right? They're just chilling out in my project bag because I don't want 2 squares right next to each other, right, of the same yarn. But yeah, I'm excited to get to knit this one up again and this one up again. Really, most of them I'm excited to knit up again. But yeah, I'm not normally this much of a fan of this kind of hodgepodge, sort of randomly thrown together combination of colors, but it's such a fun project. And I don't know, I'm really enjoying the way it's turning out. I really am. So if you, again, I feel like I say this every time I talk about this project, but if you haven't started a scrap yarn project, what are you waiting for? You know, it's scraps of yarn that you've already used, right? It's just hanging out in your stash, you know, and if you don't have a ton of scraps, people will happily swap with you or possibly don't donate to you, right? Like it's a very much a low investment kind of project with, I think, a ton of payoff, and it's a lot of fun to do too. One thing I do want to note too is that I have been trying to be really good about weaving in my ends as I go. You know, every couple squares, this is the wrong side of the work, and every couple squares, you'll see there's, I think, yeah, no ends left hanging out. Maybe that need to be trimmed. I'm seeing now. But really, it's just this top row that I'm working on that still has ends that need to be woven in. And normally I am not great about that. I'm not on top of weaving ends in because I hate it just like everybody else. But I know, honestly, if I didn't force myself to do it as I go, I would never get it done, right? The project would just sit forever waiting for ends to be woven in, or I'd be hanging out on the couch tangled up in ends, right? Like, it's just one of those things that I'm forcing myself to do. I don't know, I'm weaving in ends. That's basically my point. I kind of want to stop the podcast to finish this square. It's bugging me that I'm in the middle of a square. The other thing, I guess, you guys can start really seeing, kind of really see now, is that I am doing a diamond motif with the mitered corners, right? A lot of these blankets all have the miters going in the same direction, and I am loving the look of that more the more projects I see on Instagram, but I'm not regretting the decision to do the diamond motif. I think that ends up looking really cool. It's a little bit of a pain, as you can probably tell by the way that I'm having to add in this square. And I know I've talked about that before, about navigating, you know, this type of join. But I don't know, it's worth it. I think it's cool, and I think I'm going to be really happy with the end product. If you've got any questions about the way I'm doing it, I was gonna say check out the project in my on my project page on Ravelry, but I actually don't know if I put up appropriate notes. So if you have questions, I'd say start by posting your question in the Ask Me Anything style thread I've got going on in the Ravelry group. Yeah. This project, as always, is hanging out in my Hue Loco project bag. It's one of her sort of Southwest or Aztec. I'm not sure. I don't remember quite what she called the pattern. But great bag, giant boxed bottom, right? So it definitely stands on its own, or it would if it wasn't so full of minis, right? I've just got it crammed full of minis. And whoop, this project. And again, if possible, I always roll down the top of my project bags because it's easier. I find the yarn doesn't get snagged on the zipper if I do it this way. Not all of my project bags allow that, but I don't know. At least for the way I use them, I find it really helpful, and I know that that's something I'm going to continue adding to the project bags that I make, at least. Yeah, love this thing. Let's see. All right, next one I'm going to show you guys. Again, I'm really excited about this little guy. I am knitting Elijah the Elephant for the Stuffy Along that's being hosted by Chelsea and Sue of Legacy Knits. If you haven't checked out their podcast, I think everybody's checked out their podcast at this point, but they are a mother-daughter duo, very dynamic duo, and they co-host a weekly podcast. They are hilarious. They are so much fun, and they are co-hosting, like I said, they are hosting really a knit along, crochet along, where really the idea is that you make a stuffed animal, right? So it's either crochet or knitting. I am making Elijah the Elephant, and I am knitting it out of Hue Loco yarn. We all know about my obsession. And this is in what was her Firestorm colorway on the Boca DK base. Right. I think she's changed the name. Right. But it's just this gorgeous combination of grays and oranges. As you guys are going to see, I am apparently way more in love with orange than I ever even realized. But I'm having so much fun with this. I love this base. It's a DK single. It's really, really squishy, really bouncy, really airy, and I'm in love. It's great. And here is little Elijah. His little trunk could probably stand to curve a little bit more. I think it's just gonna have to take some playing. But he's got a head, he's got a little body. He's gonna have some legs and arms soon. I can't wait. I'm so excited about this little guy. He is adorable. And honestly, for my first knit stuffy, I'm really pleased. The pattern is actually really, really easy, and I wouldn't say it's intuitive because I have no idea what I'm doing about stuffies, but I feel like if I had made another stuffy before, it would probably be fairly intuitive. Yeah, it's just so much fun. It's kind of like turning a heel, right? It's some knitting origami magic. Yeah, I'm kind of astounded that I have knit him. That is amazing to me. But he's just so freaking cute. He's just got this, sorry, I'm like standing him on my computer to kind of, he's a little front heavy right now with the trunk, but I think once I add in some legs and stuff, he'll be better. But he's just so cute. I love his little round body. Right? Now, I know looking at projects on Ravelry, people have made him larger, and I think it's because I decided to go down a needle size, in part based on just like the needles I had available. I'm knitting him on, let's see here, these are US size 3? Yes, US size 3 DPNs. They're wooden DPNs from Knit Picks. I love them. They're great for this. They've got just enough give to them. They're just springy enough to be comfortable and things like that, especially as I was having to attach the body to the head. Kind of rough having to negotiate around his little his trunk. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. And I would definitely recommend this pattern to anyone who's never knit a stuffy before. Yeah, 100%. Like I can't wait. I can't wait to see how he turns out. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do for eyes because I am not skilled with embroidery. Yeah. Maybe he will get buttons for eyes instead of little French knot eyes. I don't know. That's a decision for like a week or two from now. But yeah, definitely check this out if you want to participate in that stuffy along, or if you ever just want to make a stuffed animal. They're really, really cute. And then this one is living in one of my Knit Picks project bags. It's just a muslin printed drawstring. Right, it's got some little kitties and yarn balls on it. It's very cute. And here you can see why I don't use these for everything, right? Just the needles poke right through, you know? It's great for at least keeping the project contained. But in terms of actually managing things, it's not necessarily the best. At least not for me. But I've got it, so I use it. Looking at the other projects, hanging out. Alright. I mentioned during, while I was showing you guys my finished object this week that I'm working on another pair of socks already. Again, this is living in the same bag as my last pair of socks. Got my Kitchen Countercrafter button here on my sock bag. And this is one of the project bags that I made for myself early on. Right? Lined. You can see it's got the gold metallic triangle lining. Yeah, I am knitting a pair of Mrs. Weasley's Family Socks, which is a pattern by Molly of A Homespun House. And I am knitting it out of, to show you the tags before I show you anything else. I'm doing contrasting cuff, heel, and toes. And so I've got this navy, which is Hot Socks, right? Which is, I guess, a German, maybe, brand of yarn. Right? It's honestly serious workhorse sock yarn. This is just a navy, solid navy. I want to say it's 75% virgin wool. Yep, 25% polyamide nylon, basically. And it's sturdy. It's very sturdy. It kind of reminds me of like Opal or Regia, right? In that sort of vein. So definitely a very sturdy workhorse sort of sock wool. Right, I'm doing that, and then I'm also knitting the main part of the sock out of Brew City yarns. Right, and this is the Toasted Marshmallows colorway. You can see it's primarily this like ecru sort of natural color with some stripes of gray and flecks of this nice sort of fawn color. Sort of a medium brown. Really, really pretty, and it's so soft. It is, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. I mean, honestly, the softness factor here between this and this is like night and day. It's funny, I'll show you guys the sock in a second, but as I was knitting up the heel, after knitting the leg of the sock in this for so long, this felt like freaking sandpaper as I was knitting with it. Now that I'm holding it just on its own, it's not bad at all. It's just the contrast, it's amazingly, like stark, I guess. And I'm using my own Kitchen Counter Crafter DPN Cozy here. I love this thing. This is great. I have been using it like crazy. Yeah, and here's my sock. Get that yarn out of the way for you. This is the first time I've done a contrasting cuff, heel, and toe. Well, so far cuff and heel. And I don't know why I haven't done this before. Like, I am obsessed with the way this looks. It's so cool. I'd show this to you guys the right way. We've talked about my hatred of knitting ribbing, but I was good. I was a good girl. I knit 20 rows of ribbing, and it's a 2x2. Normally I do a 1x1, but I actually sorry, the lighting in here is just not showing up the navy like I want it to, so I'm gonna have to hold it at an angle so you guys can kind of get the sunlight on it. Normally I do a 1x1 ribbing on my socks, but I actually really like the 2x2 ribbing. I don't think I would if I knit my normal length, right? Usually I would have stopped the ribbing about halfway, right about there. But given that there's so much of it, I like the 2x2. Fish lips kiss heel, right, again. See if I can get the right angle so you can actually see it. And yeah, I am absolutely in love with this combination of yarns and the pattern that's with it. I think this would be a perfect first pattern sock. Honestly, it's super intuitive, it's really fun, it's really addictive, and it just looks great. Right? Get that in there. You guys can actually see what I'm talking about. Right? It's super subtle, but it's there, and it just looks so cool. I think when I talked about this last week, I showed you guys a dark brown as the what I was thinking for the contrast color. But I had this navy sitting in my stash, and I really am glad that I made that switch. Just because I like the way the navy plays with the dark gray. It kind of brings out some blue tones in the gray, and it just looks really cool together. And I kind of stalled out on these a little bit. I mean, granted, I got all of this done in a week, right? My sock knitting mojo has returned, especially considering that I've worked on like 5 other projects too. But I stalled out on this a little bit because, if you can see that, I continued the patterning on the sole of the foot. And I don't know, I'm going back and forth between, do I want to just continue and I'll just do the pattern on the bottom of the foot for both socks, or should I rip back and do it correctly, right, where it's just stockinette right here, right along the sole, and then pattern on just the top. You know, I don't know, given the construction of the stitch motif, given how simple it is, I don't know that the patterning on the sole of the foot is really going to bug me. But I really love this pair of socks, and I kind of want them to be perfect. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, basically, is what I'm telling you here. Yeah, I've got to debate a little bit. I think this week, finally, I'm actually going to wait and listen to your guys' opinions before I just go on and just make my own decision. Yeah, I mean, especially if you guys have knit this pattern before, or something similar to it. It's kind of reminiscent of the Hermione's Everyday Sock. I don't know, what do you think? Should I rip back and do just a plain stockinette sole for the foot, or should I just keep going? Because I'm torn. I don't know what I should do. Other details about this, I'm using one of the stitch markers I made myself. This sort of, excuse my fingernails that are not done in my awful cuticles. Whatever. It's life. Got this cool enamel bead. It's got a flower on it. I had fun twisting the wire like that. I love these stitch markers that I made. So I'm using those, and then I'm also knitting these on Yeah, more wooden DPNs, right? They're a little bit blunt. They've kind of got that sheared off feeling at the very tip, so they're not very, very pointy, but they're perfect for sock knitting. At least it's not knitling, right? Sock knitting. And these are by Blue Sky Alpaca, and they came in this awesome collectible tin. Right. I love this tin. I'd be lying if I said I didn't buy the needles just for the tin, because they're kind of awesome. Yeah. US 0s, 2 millimeters. They're really cool. And they are apparently made out of rosewood. I love these things. If I weren't on a yarn and yarn adjacent diet at the moment, I would totally try and get more. Yep. See? Hold everything in one place. One of these could be yours. All right, packing this one away. Yeah, oh, and that one, because it is the Mrs. Weasley sock, I am knitting that in participation with the Harry Potter knit-alongs being run by KT of Inside Number 23 and Vegan Jilly of the Knitting Broomstick. And I'm sure there's more. I'll probably include those in my box of socks. The year-long knit-along, sock knit-along, being hosted by Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast. And yeah, I mean, following Jilly, let's all poly dip. Let's just join all of the knit-alongs for all of our various projects, right? The more the merrier, right? All right, last work in progress to show you guys this week. I will say that I did get a little bit more work done on my Chenonceau shawl, right? My next shawl pattern that I'm working on designing. But again, it's not in a state yet where it's different enough from what I showed you guys 2 weeks ago that it's really worth pulling out. It's just gotten longer. So once that one gets closer to being done, I'll actually show you guys what it looks like. But yeah, so last one, this is my Cameo Loco Knit-Along shawl. So as you guys may know, I am co-hosting a Cameo shawl knit-along with the ladies of Get Lit and Knit, and we are knitting this sort of as a way to properly do justice to our favorite colorway of Hue Loco yarn, right, which is the Stardust colorway. Allie and I are knitting this shawl using a skein of the Stardust colorway on the Glitz base, so her Nicole's Stellina base. And then for our contrasting color, we're both doing different things, so we don't end up with matching shawls. Although that would kind of be fun, maybe not so much. I can show you what's left of my cake of Stardust. This was Stardust, still is, right? But the cake has definitely flattened out significantly. Yeah, you can kind of see, maybe you can see the Stellina in there. Yeah, a little bit, you can see the sparkles, but it's gorgeous, right? Those blues and purples and the ochre, the light color, right? It's not even white, it's just this nice, really light blue, just the pops of color. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely in love with this. And then you'll see my contrasting color. This is Ominous Skies, which is a colorway by Beautiful Mess Yarnworks, right? And it's this really gorgeous gray purple color, right? That actually is not a terrible representation of the color. Yeah, it's a little less blue in real life. It's a little bit warmer than that. Hopefully when I go through and kind of edit levels and things like that, it'll show up correctly. But yeah, I'm in love with this. Also has Stellina in it. Not quite as high twist as the glitz base, but it is really, really soft. It's really squishy. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So this has been my car knitting project with all of the driving around we've been doing, looking at houses and everything over the last week. And I have made some serious progress. Right, if you can see, the progress keeper way down here, which is actually a gift from Allie and Abby of Get Knit. Right, it's a little beer bottle. Right, that is where I was last week when I showed you guys this thing. Right, like I've made serious progress. Can you see? Can you see? Yes. Right, you can see there's like this picot edging going on, and then it's definitely an asymmetrical shawl. Right, you've got this crazy increasing going on. Like I can't even get this all in frame. Right. And I've finally started the striping section with that contrast color, which honestly isn't even that strong of a contrast, but I kind of really like that, actually. I did knit up a swatch before I got into the whole giant shawl that was a section of Stardust, a couple stripes, and then a section of the Ominous Skies, and I actually really do like the way they play together. Yeah, you can see the stripes in there. They're subtle, but I think it's going to end up with a really gorgeous effect as I get through the stripes and then into the lace section with just the Ominous Skies. I think it's going to end up looking really, really cool. Yeah, I am so happy with this. It's definitely filling a gap in my shawl wardrobe. I don't have anything in these colors, amazingly enough, even though they are very much within my color wheelhouse. Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm so excited. And honestly, this thing knits up really, really quickly. I know of at least one person who is already on the lace section. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't cast on yet, you've got time. Like, cast on this weekend. You can totally make the deadline. Because again, I mean, it's garter stitch. You know, it's the most challenging part is the picot, and it's not that challenging, right? It's really, if you can count to 4, if you can know, like, it's a 4-row sort of situation, you're good to go. Like, it's really, really simple, really quick, great potato chip knitting. You can totally knit in the car with this when you're talking to people, while you're watching TV. It's a great, great knit like that. And the final product is so pretty. So yeah, definitely cast this on, participate, and double dip, right? If you're posting stuff in my finished object thread, also go post stuff over in Allie and Abby's finished object thread. Right? Double your chance to win prizes. We're all about that. We're all about the double dipping. At least with knit-alongs. What else do I want to say about this? The hashtags that we're using for this, so if you're posting pictures on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, wherever you want to do, we're using the hashtags Cameo Loco Cal and Hue Loco Hype Squad, right? Because, again, we're knitting this, as I've said for the last couple weeks, to really highlight this gorgeous yarn from Nicole of Hue Loco, right? It's upside down. I don't care. It's just so pretty. I'm kind of in awe. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm not even looking at you guys in the camera. I'm just looking on my screen at this shawl. Oh, and I can't wait to get more into the Ominous Skies too and see how that sort of gets knit up. It's going to be so cool. I'm so excited about this shawl, guys. It's going to be so pretty. Yeah, right. The last other thing I wanted to say about the knit along itself. Yeah, we're running until the end of April, and if you knit yours out of at least one skein of Hue Loco yarn, you can post 2 entries in the knit along thread in my group and 2 entries in the knit along or the finished object thread in the Get Lit Knit group as well. So that's 4 entries for, you know, one of our prize packs. I'm going to show you one of the prizes that I've got, which I know I keep showing, but I'm trying to get you guys excited. This is really, really cool stuff. This was donated by Nicole for you guys. I'm keeping it. You guys know that I've got 2 cats, so I'm not taking it out of this crinkly plastic stuff, right? Because I want to keep your yarn nice and pristine. Right, this is 2 skeins of Hue Loco yarn. The top is, let's see, so I'm reading the tag. This is the Phyllis Sock Base, and it is an 80-20 superwash merino nylon blend. It's 2-ply, 400 yards, and the colorway is Sagebrush. It's this really cool, sort of warm green sort of tonal blend. So you can kind of get into that there. And then this bottom one here is Puffin, and that is on the Glitz sock, which is the same base that I am knitting as the main color for my shawl that I'm doing that I just showed you guys. The Stardust is on the Glitz sock, so it's got a little bit of stellina in it. It's a 75-25 breakdown, right? So superwash merino nylon and stellina. This is the Puffin colorway, and so it's this nice warm yellow, right? Kind of a goldeny yellow color, right? And these are gorgeous. I love her bases, more than a little bit obsessed with them. And I mean, I do not need to go on about how much I love Nicole's yarn and why I love it and all that kind of stuff. I hope you guys have come to understand my deep and abiding love for Hue Loco yarn over the past couple episodes. Basically since the beginning, let's be completely honest. But yeah, I mean, like, everybody's got their favorite indie dyer. Yeah, Nicole's my favorite. I'm not gonna lie. Not that I don't love some other indie dyed yarns, because I've knit with some pretty fabulous indie dyed yarns, but she's also the indie dyer that I have the most experience with. So there is that. There's a little bias going on there too. But crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. That is all for you. Right, just post your finished shawls in the finished object thread, and that could go home to you. Yeah, that's all the works in progress that I'm going to show you guys this week. All right, before going on to my adventures in dyeing this weekend, I did want to talk a little bit about spinning. Didn't get a ton of spinning done this last week, but I've been playing around a little bit with color maintenance, or color management, I suppose is the right term for it. And spinning, as I showed you guys a couple weeks ago, I got some fuzzlings from Deb of Fondant Fiber, and I've been playing with those, kind of using those as, what is the word I'm looking for? As practice for color management, right? Because they are just little balls of fiber, right? And just in the most vibrant combination of colors, right? And they're all really cool blends too. So yeah, it's just kind of really good, really fun practice. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with all of them, because I don't necessarily want to apply them all into one continuous skein, because they don't all go together, but they're really, yeah, they're awesome spinning practice, that's for sure. I'm having so much fun spinning them up. So this was one, let's see, that's going to show up. Maybe a little angle there, not so much. This was one fuzzling. Right, you can see that it had some white and green in it, some black, and some purple. And I'm definitely pleased with the way I was able to separate the colors out. I don't know if you can see this, but the purple has a bunch of metallic thread in it. I don't know if it's stellina or not. I don't know what other kind of metallic fiber there could be, but yeah, it's long, right? Like, that is, you can kind of see me pulling it out. That is all one, yeah, this is all one metallic thread, right? And I mean, you guys have seen the extent of all of my spinning, right? I've never spun. I have never spun with this kind of fiber before, but it actually wasn't difficult, if that makes sense. Like, it just drafted like everything else. Yeah, I don't know. Playing with the fuzzlings has really been, it's really been great for my spinning confidence. Because after the plying disaster of a couple weeks ago that I talked to you guys about, yeah, my spinning confidence had definitely taken a bit of a hit, but playing with this and, I mean, being able to break out the 3 different colors and all that kind of stuff, like, it's definitely been, sorry, I'm just looking down and realizing that as I play with the bobbin, I'm getting a little bit of oil all over my hands. I'll have to wash them before I pull out some other stuff to show you guys. But yeah, sorry, total digression. Yeah, the spinning these up has been great for my spinning confidence, and I'm back in love with my wheel after kind of walking away from it for a week. But yeah, I guess if it's only really been a week, it hasn't been that long, but I'm still having fun. Still making progress, still having fun. Takeaway message. Alright, the last thing that I have to show you guys that is fiber or yarn related today, yeah, is my adventures in dyeing yarn this weekend. I'm hooked. I am in love with dyeing yarn. It is so much fun. I don't know what's taken me so long to get into it. I really don't. This is... I don't know how to describe why I love it so much. It's like a chance for me to reconnect with the awkward art kid that I was in high school. It's so much fun. I love it. Right now I'm storing my, this is kind of ridiculous. I'm storing my dyed up yarn in a bag that one of my good friends got me for my birthday. So I think the last of the birthday swag to show you guys. This is my ball sack. Classy, right? I love it. It's so silly. I love it. Right? Same on both sides. It's fallen over. Yeah, and if you do the front, it makes perfect sense. This is our ultimate, I think, style baby. Yarn. Ridiculous. I love it. Okay, so, I ordered some bare yarn to play with, a couple weeks ago. It showed up in the mail last week, and I've just kind of been playing ever since. I ordered a kilo of yarn, which I feel like for Americans, the only time you use the metric system for weights, it's like yarn and drugs. That's it. I have no concept of what a kilo is, but apparently I ordered a kilo of yarn, which is 10 skeins, right? Every skein is 100 grams, right? 10. So, it's fingering weight. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. So 100% a sock yarn blend. And it's actually really soft. I feel like most of the yarns I've worked with that are that blend end up being very rough, right? Because it is a sturdier blend. But I'm sorry, I'm like in my lap here, I'm fondling some yarn, full disclosure, and it is incredibly soft. And I would say maybe it's the soap that I've been using to wash it or rinse it in, and it's not. I mean, it was this soft when it was bare, but whatever. So it is fingering weight, it is a sock blend, and I broke one of the skeins into 10 gram minis, just to kind of give myself some stuff to play with a little bit. And then I kept the other 9 as full skeins. So I think it was maybe Friday night, I decided to actually dye, or Friday during the day, I decided to dye up 3 of the minis. And we've got them, I'll show you guys each of them individually. Right, starting with this, again, try and get as much of the natural light on it as I can. This skein of green and black. Whoop. Just dropping my yarn. Really, really pretty tonal green color. Right, I added in a little bit of black for some interest. Right. Partly because currently I only have 4 colors of dye. I've got turquoise, a bright yellow, a red, and black. So, you know, my options are a little bit limited, but then again, they're primary colors, so really I can do just about anything with that. I did this nice tonal purple color. Alright, which is definitely more of a red purple than a blue purple, but there are, see if I can show you. There are spots where it gets a little bit bluer. I think the way the mini is twisted, it's kind of all interior now. But yeah. Really pleased with how these turned out. Again, it's super dark, really, really saturated. It's a really pretty purple color. I really want to dye up another one of these. And then, the one that surprised me by being my favorite, is this orange color that I dyed up. Right? It's really, really interesting. It's definitely orange, but there's some chunks where it's real red, other parts where it's a little bit more yellow. Turn it around so you can kind of get even more of that going on. Yeah, I'm going to have to adjust the color a little bit here. But it's just so cool. It's so interesting. And, I mean, I'm not somebody who dislikes orange, but I've never been, like, drawn to orange yarn before. I think I've knit a pair of socks and a shawl over the last almost decade out of orange yarn. Like, it exists in my world, but it's not a favorite. But after dyeing that up, I needed more. So I dyed up 2 more hanks, right? 2 skeins of it. I used 2 different techniques. Ugh, and the color just isn't coming out right, guys. Maybe if I don't know. I'll find a way to make this real for you guys to really be able to see the color. But, I mean, look at that. Yeah, it's just, for some reason, showing up really, really cool. I think the blue undertones are all popping out really way too much. But it's got this stripe, it's got yellows in it, it's got these deep reds, this really gorgeous orange. Again, there's some black in there just to kind of give it some interest. There's that one, and then I believe this was the second one that I did. Yeah, this was the second one I did. So I did a different technique for applying colors to this one. And it's just not showing up the way I want it to. Check my Instagram feed. In all honesty, I've got a couple pictures of it up on Instagram where the colors are really showing up true to life, and it's just gorgeous. I am obsessed. I need to find a project for these. They're so pretty. They're so pretty, and it was so much fun. Like, it really felt like playtime. You know, like, just getting to experiment and play with color in a way that I haven't gotten to in years. I'm hooked. I'm hooked. I'm holding myself back right now from dyeing up the rest of what I've got. I think I've got 7 more skeins of yarn, and it's really been, like, I'm holding myself back. I'm not letting myself yet. In part because I've got some more dyes coming this week. So I want to make sure that I still have yarn left to dye when my dyes shows up, when my new dyes show up. And also because with the current setup I have for dyeing, it really is a 1 skein at a time sort of process. I think I'm probably slowly going to acquire a bigger setup so I can dye more hanks at a time, more skeins at a time. But yeah, for right now, it really is just a one at a time setup, and that's fine by me. Yeah, it's just so much fun. Yeah, sorry, I could just sit here and look at these for the next like hour. They're so pretty, and there's just so much going on without it being wild and crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's still, I mean, it's almost within the realm of tonal. Again, having fun with those sort of black speckles. Oh, it's showing up so blue. So cool. I mean, that should be like this bright, vibrant orange, like fire orange. Is that even a color? Fire orange? It is now. Yeah. So much fun. I can't wait. I can't wait for dyeing to be a regular part of this podcast. Yeah. I don't even know what else to say. I'm so excited. I'm really kind of in awe over the results that I've gotten. I really was not expecting to be this excited, this thrilled with my first batch of at-home dyeing. Like I've been holding myself back for days from just knitting these little minis up, just because I wanted to show you guys what they look like all skeined up. I'm earning so many marshmallows, guys. I'm holding myself back. But yeah. Trying to think if you guys have any questions about my dyeing and things like that, what I've been doing, the various techniques I've been playing around with. Guys, you know clearly that I'm brand new at this, right? I am just playing around. I learned how to do it, 2 weekends ago? Like, this is new to me. So if you've got any questions for me, or conversely, if you have any advice for me, I would love to hear it. Because basically it's been a lot of YouTube videos, you know, after the class where I kind of got the basics, and the basic theory down, in terms of the techniques of applying dyes and stuff. I've been watching basically everybody's YouTube tutorials, but yeah, if you've got any questions or advice, I love to hear it. But I am just so freaking excited about that. Look at that. Also, if you've got any patterns you think that would be kind of awesome knit up in a fierce orange color, let me know. I would love to hear. So yeah, while I may not be buying yarn, I'm definitely dyeing up my own. So let's consider this a stash enhancement for now too. What shall I do with you? So excited. Alright, finally onto some blather. First bit of blather, which is really knitting related. My embossed shawl pattern is now up on Ravelry. You can find it in the patterns tab either by searching for embossed shawl, right? That's spelled down here somewhere for you. Or you can find it by searching Francofille Knits in the pattern tab as well, right? So both places you can find it. I think over the next couple days, my test knitters are going to put up their versions of it as well, so that you can see kind of my version, which you've already seen on the podcast several times, but you can also see how other people have knitted up as well. If you do purchase the pattern, it's going to come with 2 PDF versions, one where the written instructions are color-coded and one where they're not. Both versions come with both written and charted instructions. And in the big chart, I even included a place where if you're starting to play yarn chicken, you can stop here, right? There's like a big red line for those playing yarn chicken already. Because we've all been there. We've all been there. And I feel like with fingering weight, the yardages can vary drastically, right? I mean, I feel like anything from like 395 yards to 465 yards, right? That whole spectrum, for 100 grams can be considered fingering weight. And you can knit a whole lot more or a whole lot less shawl with those two different yardages, right? So for those of you using slightly smaller yardages, I thought about you, don't worry. There's a good clear place to break in the pattern. But yeah, so you get both of those. Some people may like the color coding. I know that's something that I liked. And I know some of the test knitters thought was helpful. But some people don't need that. So if you find the color coding distracting, there's a non-color coded version too. I also have a really high-res image of the chart for you as well. It's a large chart because it's the entire lace panel. There's a bunch of charts in it. I've charted each of the motifs separately. Then there's a large chart that has them all together. The one that's all together that's really big is really high resolution, so you can zoom in on whatever device you're using. Obviously, if you're printing it out, you can't zoom, but, you've got all the written instructions there too. And it is, honestly, the feedback I kept getting from the test knitters was that once you knit a couple of the motifs, right, once you get a couple rows in, you start seeing the logic, and it becomes fairly intuitive, which was my goal, right? Because lace doesn't have to be scary. It should or can be fairly intuitive. And yeah, so I'm excited. I am so excited about this. It's up, it's real. You guys can all find it if you want it. And if you do knit it up, please post pictures on Ravelry and post them to the group. Put pictures on Instagram and hashtag Amboise Shawl, hashtag Francofille Knits, and tag me. I really, really, really would love to see your Amboise shawls. Yeah, so there's that huge, huge for me anyway, huge news. The other exciting things that have been going on, like I said, we've been house hunting. You guys have heard this saga, about how we're moving up to a more rural part of Indiana, which is definitely different from where we live now and different from where I grew up, but the house hunting process has moved forward. We've put in an offer on a house that has been accepted. We're at the point now of dealing with home inspections and things like that. Yeah, this is all so new to me. We've been renting for years. We've never bought a house before, so this is kind of mind-blowing and exciting. And yeah, and don't worry, there is good light. I've got a couple rooms picked out for crafting, where there's good light for podcasts and things like that. So I thought about you guys too, don't worry. But yeah, I'm sure we're moving in the month of July. We're going to be moving, assuming everything works out, assuming there's not something catastrophic in the home inspection or something falls through somewhere, knock on wood. Excuse the earthquake, but I gotta knock on wood. Yeah, we'll be moving in the middle of July, so that should be cool. Yeah, once we move, maybe I'll put up pictures or do a tour of the house or something like that if you guys are interested. Or I could, maybe just shut up about buying a house. Also totally fine. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on here. The semester's almost over. After this week, we've got 2 more weeks of class and then finals, and my students will be turning in their final projects during finals week, so I don't even have to go in that week, except to turn in grades, which is super exciting. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. I do want to say, I mentioned a couple times my self-imposed yarn diet, with the end of the semester coming up and therefore the end of my paychecks, and the fact that we're buying a house and the fact that we're moving, my conspicuous consumption of yarn does need to take a bit of a break. I think this is probably a pretty good place, especially, we're moving into spring and summer knitting. I think this is a good place for me to start really stash diving and trying to knit down my stash a little bit. And I definitely encourage you guys to join me in that. I think kind of stash diving and all that, I don't know, it's fun. I'm seeing it as something fun. This is not a restriction, but an opportunity to revisit old favorites. Lord knows that I've got a big enough stash at this point for me. My stash does not need to get any bigger anyway. But yeah, I think I'm going to open up a stash diving thread in the Ravelry group too. So if you want to join me in this process of stash diving and using what we already have, if you've got favorite one skein projects or anything like that, or you've got some stashed yarn that you're excited to knit with, things like that, post pictures, let me know, let's talk about it, as always, you can find all that good stuff in the Ravelry group. So yeah, what else going on in the Ravelry group right now? 300 subscriber giveaway, so definitely post about where your ideal place to live is going to be. There's the knit along, right? So post in the chatter thread, post in the finished object thread when you get there. Still have time to cast on. It's a surprisingly quick knit. And yeah, post some stash diving stuff too. And ask me anything, introduce yourself, share your projects, all that good stuff. Right? I definitely want to see all of your projects too. Just whatever you're working on, share it with the group. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I feel weird about sharing my projects with different groups. Like, should I share my project with this random podcast that I really enjoy? Yes, share your projects with this random podcast that you enjoy. I would love to see what you're working on. Yeah, and what else? Yeah, if you've got questions for me that you maybe don't want to post on Ravelry or whatever, either message me through Instagram, again, I'm at bdevin, or email me, right? My email for the podcast and all things knitting related is francofilleknits@gmail.com. Happy knitting. Enjoy your week, and I will see you guys next week for our next episode, hopefully with some more finished objects. Maybe a little Elijah will finally have some arms and legs. Maybe. Maybe I'll have come up with a solution for my socks. That's the other thing. In the show notes, definitely give me some feedback. Should I rip back those socks and just do a plain stockinette foot? Or should I just keep going? Just power through. I'm sure it'll be fine. Let me know what you think. Alright guys, see you next week.